Okay, so welcome to section 6.1, and more importantly, welcome to Math 142, the subject that makes the world go round. See, because it's all about circles. Yeah, anyway. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is talk about how to measure angles in circles, and we're going to use two different systems. One that you're probably already familiar with is called degrees, and you might know that there's 360 degrees in a circle. And unlike the compass, the degrees actually start here at the right side of the circle. So this would be 0 degrees. And then as we start to increase, we go that direction counterclockwise around the circle. So as we continue to move around the circle, um, we get to 90 degrees and continue to move around. And by the time we've gotten all the way around, we're back to the beginning, which is 0 degrees, but also known as 360 degrees. And just based on proportionality, you can mark out lots of other places on the circle, like halfway around would be 180 degrees, and the top of the circle is 90, and the bottom is 270 degrees, and halfway between 0 and 90 would be 45, of course, and you can work out lots of other places. So that's the degree system. We are also going to use the radian system. So radians also start at the right side of the circle, start at 0 radians. And they also increase going this direction around the circle. And radians are actually based on the length of a radius. So however long this is, that's 1 radian as you walk around the edge of the circle. And it turns out that if you walk all the way around the circle, you will have gone exactly 2 pi radians. And we can, again, just proportionally figure out that if all the way around is 2 pi, that halfway around must be pi radians. And this must be pi over 2. And at the bottom, we must have halfway between pi and 2 pi is 1.5 or 3/2 pi. And halfway between 0 and pi over 2 is pi over 4, and so on. So we're going to want to get very familiar with converting radians to degrees and degrees to radians, and also very familiar with some of these basic points around the edge of the unit circle. So let's talk about converting, and let's say that you want to convert from degrees to radians. So let's say that degrees, that you wanted to figure out what 360 degrees was in radians. And of course, we can just look at the two circles here side by side and figure out that right away. But let's make use of the fact that this pi divided by 180 is 1. That's pi radians and 180 degrees are the same thing, so dividing the same thing by itself is 1. So that means we can multiply pi times 180, pi over 180 by anything, and it'll still be that same number. We won't have changed it. So if we wanted to take 360 degrees and convert it into radians, we could multiply it by our conversion factor, which is that pi over 180. And you can just do the math now. The degree units cancel if you like unit analysis, and also 360 divided by 180 is 2, and this works out to 2 times pi. So we know the radian equivalent of 360 degrees is 2 pi. And if we wanted to do one that was slightly more involved, let's say we wanted to convert 30 degrees into radians. Same thing, say 30 degrees times our converting factor is pi over 180. And when you can do this on your calculator too, of course, you don't have to do it by hand. That degrees cancel, 180 30 divided by 180 reduces to 6. So 30 degrees is the same thing as pi over 6. And we could label those on our circles if we wanted to. 30 degrees is about there. Pi over 6, about there. And we can do this converting the other direction, of course, too, if we wanted to figure out what, let's say, what 2 pi over 3 radians is in degrees. We can do that multiplication, but just do it in the other direction. So now our converting factor will be 180 over pi. And if we want to convert 2 pi over 3, we'll say 2 pi over 3 times the conversion factor, which will be 180 degrees over pi, which again, still 1, because those two things are still the same. But now, again, notice units cancel, the pi's cancel. And you get 2 times 180 degrees divided by 3. So 2 times 180 is 360 divided by 3 is 120. And notice we have the right unit left, degrees. So 120 degrees. So you should be able to convert any radian measurement to any degree measurement, or vice versa. And again, we can see where that goes on the unit circle. 120 degrees is about there, and 2 pi over 3.